Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas. This is how to make a survival horror game in Unity, and welcome to episode 9. So this time we're going to carry on and we're going to create a weapon that we can pick up off the table. We're going to animate it and we're going to start making preparations for our first enemy to come in with a jump scare. So firstly, let's bring in the weapon that we said we can see on this table. So I'm going to go to my objects folder and I'm going to bring in this pistol. Drag and drop. Straight into Unity, same as before. So the idea of what this is it's just a simple model for a pistol. And if you want hands visible at any point, you'd probably need to find a specific model for that. But this one will do just fine for the tutorial series. I mean, if you head to the asset store, there's loads of stuff on there that you can find. But, I mean, some stuff is paid for, some stuff is free, but it might be worth checking out anyway. So, there's a gun on the table. So what we need to do is drag and drop the gun into the scene, and it is huge. So let's shrink the size over here by scale. So let's have 0.2 by 0.2 by 0.2, and still looks a little bit too big. So let's change it again to probably 0.05. That looks acceptable, I would think. So let's rotate. In fact, maybe a little bit smaller. So the model is quite large. Okay, that looks fine. So I'm going to rotate it and place it on the table. So we need to rotate on the Z. So let's do that to 90. Place it onto the table. And I think I might rotate on the Y as well. So the idea of what's going to happen is this is going to be like a fake pistol. And we're going to have the real thing in our hand. So we switch out one for the other as we execute the script to pick it up. So let's hold control, press D on that pistol, and drag and drop it onto the FPS controller, and then onto, in fact, let's check if that is okay on there. So I'm going to zero out the position, so as it goes to the center of our player. Let's change the rotation back to normal, and I think we could do with a little bit more light so we can see what we're doing. So let's add in an extra light, directional light. And I'm going to right click, rename, and call this testing light, just so we can see what we're doing as we're creating. So FPS controller, let's bring this gun into the right position. So bring it forward and let's press play and see how that looks. So we just need to move it probably over to the right, up a bit, out a bit, and rotate it kind of inwards very slightly. So about there, and let's have a look. Okay, so that should pretty much do as it is now. The placement seems okay, and obviously you would take as much time as you would need to get it just right. So that looks okay there. And let's see how it looks. I think we may need to add it to the first person character because it's going to go a little funny when we move everything around. It's just a floating gun. So it needs to go on first person character. And let's turn that off because we don't need it on because we haven't picked it up yet. So next thing we need to do is create a trigger to have a look at this and pick it up. So game object, 3D object, cube. And now drag the cube over to the gun and kind of change the size of the cube to fit around the gun. So shrink it to about 0.5. Bring it this way. Still needs to be a little bit smaller, I think. So 0.4 should do the trick. Shrink it this way, so about 0.8. And that should do. And let's turn off Mesh Renderer. Now, previously what we've done on this door is we've had a kind of a script which will say to pick up the... or rather open the door, and we need the same thing for the gun. So if we click on this door, let me see if we can door trigger, that was it. So this cell door open, if we take this script, hold control, press D to duplicate that script, you'll come up with an error, but don't worry for now. F2 to rename, and let's call it pick up pistol. And now let's open that up in Visual Studio or Mono Develop. And the absolute first thing we're going to need to do is make sure this public class name is the same as the script name. So we call it pick up pistol. So we need to call public class pick up pistol. Now there's no point retyping everything out simply because if the script already exists, why should we bother? So we can have a look at a few things here. So action display we need, action text we need, public game object the door. Let's change that to fake pistol. We don't need this audio source, but we do need another variable called public game object real pistol semicolon. And the final one, instead of extra cross, we're going to have this as guide arrow. So it's a sequence of events again with this one. So what we do is when we over here and look on the mouse over, if the distance is under 2, we don't need to bother with that. So extra cross can go away. In fact, no, do you know what? We will keep the extra cross because the extra cross is those extra little crosshairs, isn't it? So we'll keep that in just in case. I think that would be kind of cool to keep having that. So public game object extra cross. And what we're going to need to do is in this same area, void on mouse over, we need to change what these say. So action display is, I think that's going to stay the same, isn't it? And action text is going to change. So action text dot get component, and in spiky brackets text open close bracket dot text is going to be equal to pick up pistol. So the instructions on screen are going to say pick up pistol. Next thing, once we do action, so we press the button to pick it up, we want to turn off the box collider, yes. Turn off the action display, turn off the action text. There's no animation, so we can get rid of these two lines here and we replace them with fake pistol dot set active false, and then real pistol dot set active true. So you can see what's happening here is when we activate whatever is attached to this, then we're basically just disabling fake pistol, the one that's on the table, and enabling the one that is in our hand. So at the same time, let's turn that extra cross off as well. So extra cross dot set active false semicolon, and let's save that script. So hopefully it's taken us just a couple of minutes to write this entire thing basically, and that's the beauty of being able to do this, reusing the scripts we've already written. So what we'll do is rename this cube, right click, rename, and we'll call it pistol trigger, and drag and drop that script. So now we just need to set those couple of variables. So the what should we start with? Let's start with the real pistol. So this M9 that we turned off before is going to be the real pistol. The M9 that we had originally is going to be the fake pistol. And in the canvas, we have these here. So extra crosshairs is extra cross. Action key is our action display. Action text is action text. And the guide arrow is the guide arrow. So now hopefully this whole sequence should work quite nicely. So I'm going to turn off the testing light. So we have our atmosphere back, and let's give this a go. So you can see we've got no pistol. That's all good. Open the door. Looks like a weapon on that table. Sure is. There we go, pick up pistol. And we have it right there. So you can see at that point it's disappeared off the table, although the guide arrow hasn't. It's still there. I think we've missed out that line of code, haven't we, to turn off the guide arrow. So we just need to add that in. But you can see the process is actually working quite nicely there. So let's add that extra line of code in there. And it is guide arrow dot set active false semicolon and save. So that is that script complete. We shouldn't have any more problems with that. So next thing we're going to look at is animating our weapon. So let's turn our testing light back on so we can see. And let's have the pistol in our hand on. So let's re-enable it. Head to our animations folder, and on the pistol itself, let's bring our camera around so we can see. There we go. Animation, create, and let's have this as pistol shot. Let's press the record button and set our first keyframe. And obviously our first keyframe, much like the door, is going to be the position it's in now. So the rotation is going to be 0. So let's have the Y rotation as minus 10.4. Hit enter. So next thing we need to do is let's figure out how long each shot is going to last. It's going to be a split second kind of thing. So when we get to, let's say about frame maybe 10, considering we're doing 60 frames a second, we want our gun to have fired. So we're going to rotate it. Let's rotate it upwards first. So let's rotate up. And I think we're going to bring it backwards just a little to about there. Maybe rotate a little more on the X. And next, let's go to keyframe probably 30. And at this point, we're bringing it back home, back down to where it belongs. So let's set it back to 0 on the rotation on the X. And let's double check all of our other selections here. So on keyframe 0, the very first one, we need to set the position on X, Y, and Z back to these. So the X, let's copy that number in there, head to frame 30, and paste it in there. Back to frame 0, copy Y, back to frame 30, into there, and finally, let's do Z. So copy, frame 30, and into there. So it's always worth checking out your own animation and kind of working with it by yourself and working out what you think is the best kind of kind of animation style that you would want your gun to appear. So I want mine to kind of fire quickly and then slowly come back down. So I'm going to press record button to stop that animation. And what I'll do is the pistol shot, I will untick loop time for now and press play. So that's pretty decent, I think. I think that's working okay. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how that's firing. So every time we fire, that is the animation that will play. So the last thing we'll do is we'll actually remove the animator component. So right click, remove component, and we want to add in the animation right there. And same with the door, we've done this before, haven't we, guys? Drag and drop the pistol shot onto there, set the size to 1, and element 0 is also pistol shot. And the last thing we need to do is change it in debug to legacy. Normal, wrap mode, once. So when we press play, we'll see it fire again, like so, which is all good. But next episode, we're going to look at creating a script which will allow us to fire at will, as well as creating all the extra little bits that go with it. So the final thing I want to do is I want to expand this area just a little more, because we're going to bring in our enemy with our jump scare. And I'm going to take this floor right here, hold control, press D, duplicate, bring it over here. Let's bring this wall over here. And let's expand this game object to 10 by 10. It's gone a bit funny there. 10 by 10, there we go. Oops, that should be 5, my apologies. And I'm going to rotate. But let's have it 10. We'll use this game object here. Let's hold control, press D, duplicate, bring it over to about there. Whole way back. So here we're going to add in a door. And the idea of what we want to happen is once we picked up the gun, we're going to head over here because this would be the way to go. And then all of a sudden, a zombie is going to come bursting through that door. And that will be our jump scare. So we're going to plan all that and get it working together. So we're going to bring in a new type of door. So drag and drop this new type of door into our game objects. And it's thinking about it. It'll take just a second, but there we go. And you can get these assets on the website for free. Head over there, downloads and assets. I'm just going to bring the door in. I'm going to rotate, 90 degrees, and let's bring it to size. So it's going to be scale of about 6 by 6 by 6. I think that maybe a little bit bigger, 7 by 7 by 7. Okay, so that looks about right for what we're going to do. So, like I say, we're setting this scene up now for the jump scare, which is going to come in the next episode. Or we're just going to start planning it in the next episode because the enemy is going to be them. So, guys, until that next episode, you do what you need to. Remember, the assets are always on the website for free. And I will see you next episode. Thank you very much for watching.